Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of Health and Care Skilled Worker Visa. Now I know this is a video that is going to be so useful whilst making your visa application to come to the UK to be a doctor in the NHS. Here we are on the gov.uk website to apply for a skilled worker visa. Do please check in the overview that you are eligible for a skilled worker visa by just reading through all the details here, and also to note that the skilled worker visa has now replaced the Tier 2 general work visa. What we're going to do now is run through a visa application as if we were applying from outside of the UK, and I have mocked up an application here. Question you'll be asked as part of your skilled worker visa application will be, do you have your certificate of sponsorship reference number or your COS reference number? If you're going to be working for an NHS Trust, you will have one of these issued on your COS. It will be on the first page towards the top, and this is a reference number. Each person or doctor will have a different reference number, so please be careful to double check it all. You will then have to give your email address, and you have to make sure this belongs to yourself. If you do have another email address that you do access, maybe you want to use a backup one, then you would enter it in this section. The next question is about providing your telephone number. So what you'll do is give your mobile number. We have given a mock one, and this can be used whilst in the UK or outside the UK. And what type of number it is. It might be a work number, a mobile number, or your home telephone number. They want to know then as well if you can be contacted. So they ask your permission if you can be contacted by telephone calls or through a text messaging service. The next part is really important to make sure you get your name correct. So your given name or given names will be your first name and middle names, and then your family name will be your surname. Do make sure this matches what is on your certificate of sponsorship to make sure it's all exactly the same and matches up. The next question is, what is your sex shown on your travel passport or travel document? In this case we've put female. Just make sure you answer that correctly, and then you also want to put what your relationship status is. It can be single, married, divorced, or living with partner. Then for the last few questions, it asks what your address is. So you want to make sure this is perfect, that it is right, and it also matches the address on your certificate of sponsorship. You don't want to see any discrepancies in this, so the name of your road, the area and the country all has to match. They also ask if this will be your corresponding address. If you can receive post or letters, then you would answer yes. They'll also want to know how long you've lived at this address. In this case, we've lived here for 2 years. This is because in your visa application, they'll want to see evidence of where you have lived for the past 2 years. So if you've only lived in your address for 6 months, they'll ask for address history for the past 18 months. Here's your passport details. All this information you already have, so just enter this in here, followed by your personal information about your place of birth and date of birth. All of this information once again should match what is on your certificate of sponsorship. The next section leads into your English language. It's just asking what language you prefer to be spoken to in your application, and if you are a doctor, make sure you answer yes for this. They'll also ask, have you been granted permission to stay after meeting in English language? In this case we've answered yes, but just double check the requirements when answering this question. And the last one on this is your education, if you have a PhD or not. We then talk about your parents' details, so your mother and your father. Just enter these details correctly about them, and also answer the question if you have family in the UK. If you do, great, answer yes. If you don't, no worries, you just write no. Just a reminder, you just have to be truthful throughout this whole application, so don't worry if you're writing no not having family in the UK. A big question is accommodation details. Where do you plan to stay in the UK? If you have secured hospital accommodation or you know where you'll be staying initially, great, just put in the postcode and the road and house number, as they will ask you for this. If you haven't arranged accommodation, please do not worry about this. They'll just ask what your plan is. And in this case, we've wrote, I plan to stay in an Airbnb for 4 weeks initially when I arrive, which is absolutely fine to write in your application because once again, you're being truthful. They'll then ask about if you've been to the UK in the past 10 years. If you have, you just select your reason, how many times you came to the UK and for the duration. If you've been given any medical treatment, you'll be able to answer this question. If you have applied or not for leave to remain, answer this, and the same goes for current status, personal information and finance. On to the next section, which is travel history. This is the question where they ask how many times have you visited these countries. Just answer any countries you visited, for what reason, for how long, and the date you went to visit there. You'll then want to look into the next question, which is really, really important, the date you plan to arrive to the UK. This is the date that is going to be put on your vignette, which is your entry sticker to the UK. So this date should match your certificate of sponsorship and the first date that you can come to the UK. So make sure to carefully think about this answer and answer it as best as you can to match your certificate of sponsorship. Now they're going to ask quite a few questions about the travel history to the UK. Just make sure you read all of these bullet points and to answer it truthfully. The same goes for convictions and penalties. Double check all the bullet points and answer them truthfully. As you can see, there is quite a few, including the ones in other history. Very close to the end now, so we're going to go through the next set of questions, which is about your sponsor. These details can be found on your certificate of sponsorship. You would enter the sponsor license number, which is found near the top of your certificate of sponsorship, very close to your certificate of sponsorship reference number. Just make sure you enter it correctly and it is the right health board or NHS Trust. Next question is if your trust has agreed to certify maintenance. That will be found on the second page. It is either answered yes or no, so double check the answer to that question. And then they'll ask you about your job, your salary, which all should match your certificate of sponsorship once again. And then they'll ask, have you reviewed the guidance on professions that require an overseas criminal record check? As a doctor, you will require these overseas criminal records check, and it is for any country that you have been present in for 12 months or more over the last 10 years. So make sure you know exactly what countries you have lived in for the last 10 years. If it is, say, that you've lived in 3 countries for 12 months or more in the past 10 years, then you'll need a police clearance certificate from all those countries. And as a doctor, you will be coming to the UK on a health and care visa, so you just confirm your eligibility for this, but the overall blanket name for this type of visa is a skilled worker visa, and then you just confirm during your application that you are eligible for health and care. They double check that your job is on the shortage occupation list and also the length of your certificate of sponsorship. And then you check the final question, which is, do you need to obtain permission from the ATAS? We've answered no. And any extra information you think you will need to include in your visa application, you just put the details in here and you can add them in this change button. Now, I'm not going to go any further on this application, but I will just talk you through the next few steps. You will then go to your documents where you'll upload your certificate of sponsorship, your passport, and then any extra documents such as your police clearance certificate. Do double check the exact requirements for this, which can be found here, the documents you'll need to apply. So just double check against all the bullet points that you have everything that you need, and double check maybe the other documents on this page. You can then go through to your declaration where you declare that you have been truthful and all your answers are correct. You then pay for your visa, and then the further action would be booking in your biometrics appointment for a time and a date, and that will be when you submit your passport. If you do have any further questions on this, please do drop us an email to apply@bdiresourcing.com, or you can message our Facebook page as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that walkthrough video really useful, and if you do have any further questions or need any help, please do send them into apply@bdiresourcing.com or message us on our Facebook or Instagram page.